Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone is well. If you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up. Good. Thank you very much. So I'd like to officially welcome everybody who's into this webinar today titled Alternative Funding Models Beyond Traditional Funding Sources. You're very welcome. My name is Esther Anyaga, Director and Co-founder at Thamiran Global Advisory. I am a resource mobilization and grants management expert, and on behalf of Thamiran Global Advisory, welcome. So I see people are coming in. This is very good. So I'd like for us to do a quick introduction on the chat, and then I will read out a few introductions, give someone a few minutes of fame. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to state our name or your name, your organization, your country, and complete the sentence. If our funding strategy or vehicle, it would be. And then you could be a bicycle. If you're a bicycle, you're moving but with limited capacity. If you're a car, you're stable but still dependent on a few funding sources. If you're a bus, you're supported by several partners. If you're a rocket, you're diversified and ready to scale. And if you're still in the garage, you're building systems and strategy. So please go ahead in the chat. I'll drop the instructions on the chat. Please let's introduce ourselves, and then I'll pick on a few lucky people to unmute themselves and say hello. Pauline Lugalia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, good day, wherever you are. My name is Pauline Lugalia, consulting for two financial institutions. We are still at the garage. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. Let me see. Daniel, would you like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
Thank you. I am Daniel Kimutai, and I work for Tearfund. Tearfund is a global organization in over 50 countries, and we are now venturing ourselves into this space of blended finance mechanisms. So, yeah, glad to be here. I work in Central African Republic. That's where I'm based, but I'm the regional program funding manager for Eastern Central Africa region. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. One last person, please, let's use the chat, drop your LinkedIn handle, network as we wait for everyone. Let me pick on Emily. Hi, Emily. How are you? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's very early in the US, so I have to speak quietly. I'm an incoming MBA student at Harvard Business School, but this summer I'm working with Panorama Health, where they're based in Ghana. And I would say, I guess we're still a bicycle. I think that's all the questions. Thanks for hosting this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's continue introducing ourselves in the chats. Drop your LinkedIn handle, and I think we're officially ready to continue. One last person, Edmond. Do you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thanks so much. My name is Edmond Cordero. I work for an organization called Village Reach. Village Reach works with the governments within the Global South countries to build resilient health systems that can respond to public health shocks. I'm based off Nairobi, Kenya. And in terms of Village Reach as my employer, I think we are not off the garage yet. But if I were to look at my own personal consulting work here and there, I don't think I've even reached the garage. Probably I'm still parked at the backyard. Thank you.
Appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty. I feel like that's the first step in the spirit of admitting the problem. But thank you, Edmund, for introducing yourselves. Welcome very much to this session. We'll continue introducing ourselves in the chat, but just a quick overview. The big question that we're trying to answer today is how can your organization leverage blended finance and impact investment to thrive in an evolving funding landscape? So the development sector is entering a financing transition. Grants remain essential, but they are no longer sufficient on their own. And this is something we'll be doing a deep dive into today to understand what the sector looks like and now how development actors can now adapt. So I'll do a quick introduction of Thamiran before I introduce my main moderator, and then we will start this conversation. So Thamiran is a global advisory firm advancing organizational impact through system strengthening, strategic resource mobilization, and capacity development. We support NGOs, CSOs, and social enterprises to improve fundraising performance, donor compliance, and overall organizational effectiveness. And we have 3 key services that we provide. Donor-ready system strengthening. So we provide strategic guidance to build efficient organizational systems and processes, compliance, accountability, reporting system to make sure that, when you're ready to go after that big grant, your system's actually ready for it. And then support with grants and resource mobilization. So end-to-end support across the RM cycle from opportunity identification to reporting, and then our capacity building wing, which is Thamiran Grants Right School, which provides practical hands-on training to build internal fundraising capacity. And on the next slide, you'll see our upcoming calendar. So this coming August, we're having a strategic resource mobilization for scaled impact. And also alternative funding models, leveraging blended finance for sustainable development. So this will be a continuation of the conversation that we've started today. So if you're interested in understanding how to, create a model for an organization to explore blended finance, this is a training for you. And then we'll also be having a strategic resource mobilization training specifically for senior leadership. And then October, we'll be having strategic resource mobilization for scaled impact and leveraging blended finance. And then in November, we'll be talking about social enterprises for NGOs and how you can build your domestic resource mobilization capacity. Enough about Thamiran. So we've organized this conversation today because, as I said, the development financing landscape is changing rapidly. Organizations are being challenged to think more strategically about blended finance, impact investments, and income partnerships and other approaches that can really help them to sustain and scale their impact. And today's discussion is designed to move beyond theory, and our panelists will be sharing very practical insights as to what blended finance and impact investment looks like in practice, what makes an organization ready, and how development actors can position themselves to access alternative forms of capital without compromising their mission. So a few housekeeping rules before we start it off. So the session will be recorded. You can already see a prompt at the top, and the slides will be shared after the webinar with the emails you signed up with. And then please keep your microphones muted unless invited to speak. Use the chat function to share your reflections and questions throughout the discussion. We have a dedicated question and answer sessions at the end, so please feel free to drop your question in the Q&A area or on the chat, and we will consolidate them, and our panelists will respond to them at the end. Right now, I'd like to pass the mantle over to Chilande Kuloba. I will read a short introduction of her, and then I will let her take over from there, and she will, take these. I think we are bus, maybe. So Chilande Kuloba Waria is the founder and managing director of Warande Advisory Foundation, and will be sharing her LinkedIn link on the chat. This is a Kenya-based organization working across Africa to strengthen civil society organizations, build coalitions, and reshape how the development funding reaches local actors. With over 20 years of experience, she works closely with philanthropy, intermediaries, and grassroots organizations to translate commitments to locally led development into practical, actionable systems. Chilande is also a co-founder of the Local Coalition Accelerator, which is a multi-country initiative supporting locally led coalitions to design and deliver community-driven solutions at scale. And the Philanthropy Dialogues, an initiative that is looking to design prototypes for real systemic change. You'll be seeing on our presentation the other people that panelists that are here today. But I know Chilande will be doing a detailed introduction of them shortly. So Chilande, over to you if you can hear me.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Esther. I love that you're on this bus, and I'm hoping that the bus becomes a jet by the time we are done with this conversation. Good afternoon and good morning. And, I'm not sure if there's anybody who should be going to sleep now, but if you are, good night to you. Thank you so much for inviting me into this conversation, and thank you to everybody who's taken the time. Time these days is a lot more precious, so we don't take it for granted that you're here. Mine is just to be a moderator, so I'll chip in where I can, but we have a fantastic panel here to help us with this conversation that is just incredibly, incredibly timely, because we are really at a moment where all the assumptions that we made around, especially around development financing for decades, no longer hold. If I remember back in the day when I started, and I'm not telling you exactly when so that you don't calculate my age, when we started doing some of this fundraising, it was simple. Find a donor, respond to a call, receive a grant, implement your project, report. Hopefully you renew. But now with this, the way things have changed, and somebody challenged me the other day saying, the aid budgets are not really shrinking, they're just shifting. Africa is no longer it, right? So folks like the Yemeni and Iran and all those different places will say something different. Basically, donor priorities have changed, and now we are seeing shorter funding horizons for a lot of us, increased competition. There was already competition from back in the day, and now it's even more, fragile, the state that we're operating. So perhaps right now what we're thinking about is not necessarily where will our next grant come from, but perhaps, what kind of institutions are we building, which is why I'm excited about some of the, the diversity of the panelists.